continue 3.3. Before we go through the stuff you were doing yesterday, I want you to work on number 20 off of page 59 of your student journal with the partner there. Okay, off you go. Tell your neighbor what you got first.
For A, got 2.5.
Okay, let's talk about it real quick. We have the golfer. They hit the ball. The initial velocity 8 feet per second. They give you the height as a function of your time using the function h of t equals negative 16t squared plus 80t plus 0.1. All right. And then find the maximum. Well, if I'm finding the maximum, what is that when you're dealing with a parabola? That is your vertex. So if you recall a parabola, this person's like hitting the ball. You're trying to find the maximum height. Okay. And when you're thinking of your parabola, obviously I have no idea if I'm graphing that right, but in terms of this is h of t, and this is t. Okay. So this would give me an ordered pair t, h of t. Okay. And a certain time, I've went a certain height. Okay. And so if I'm trying to find the maximum height, I'd have to find opposite of b over 2a, which would tell me my t value. And in this case, my t value is 5 halves. Okay, so using opposite of b over 2a, crank it out, I end up with, let me get it so you guys can see all that there. You get the 5 halves. Okay. Now obviously you could have reduced a lot faster than I did, but I just chose to keep cutting in half, which I see a lot of students do. But you could have obviously reduced a lot quicker there. And then once you get your 5 halves, so meaning this is 5 halves or 2.5 seconds, you plug that into your function and solve for h of t, which would give you 100.1 feet. Okay. Now how many got that? Hey, well done. All right. Okay, and how long does it take the ball to hit the ground? Well, you've hit the ball, assuming, okay, it doesn't like stay up there forever. That would be bad, or like going a tree, and I guess it's never hitting the ground. I'm just kind of giving the woes of my golf game. All right. How long does it take to hit the ground? So what are we finding there? What represents ground level? What's that? Yeah, the x-intercept. So if the ball comes down and it's going to hit the ground somewhere here, that is your x-intercept. All right, so we go through and we solve our function to find our x-intercepts. We plug 0 in for h of t. Now you'll notice my function changed here. I didn't use the one they used up here, but you could have. Okay, I already had it in vertex form. I got vertex form by using the coordinates of my vertex. So using those coordinates, I said, well, I'm just going to use vertex form. My a stays the same, x minus 5 halves. That's my h term, and then my k term is plus 100.1. And then to solve, I plug 0 in for h of t. So I want to know when my height is at 0. That's going to give me my y-intercepts. And I think I forgot the square there. And then from there, I can go ahead and solve. I add. I'm not going to go through all the work there. I subtract 101.1 from both sides, divide by negative 16. Take the square root. It gives me plus minus. And then when I actually find the square root of that, divide by 4, I get x minus 5 halves, which is approximately 5 seconds. Notice I don't have the plus minus. Like there's one of those that aren't going to work out, right? You can't have a negative time. Okay, so my picture here probably isn't accurate. I should have my vertex over, or my h of t axis over a bit, but that's okay. All right. So 5 seconds. Now how many got that one? Good. So you're solving for it. All right. Very good. You'll have one like that on your quiz, I think. Yeah.
I used perfect square technique, but it worked out for me. I got about 5.
Yep.
That still works?
Yeah, so yeah, you're going to find that you can solve these many different ways. I mean, we've talked to you about vertex form, standard form, factored form. We've talked about completing the square and factoring and graphing. We'll talk to you about the quadratic formula. So there are going to be many different ways to solve them. Your option is to pick the one that works the most effectively for you and hopefully the most efficiently. Okay? Yes. You're right. That is the goal of the game. Okay, I want you to take out yesterday's assignment, please. All right, yesterday's assignment. We were wrapping up those 3 problems, if you recall. And, well, actually those 4, I guess, because we never actually finished number 10. Okay? So, how'd we do? Good. Tell your neighbor what you got for each of them real quick.
Oh, yeah. I got rid of the next one.
All right. Can you guys wrap up discussion here in the next couple seconds, please? All right. The question came up yesterday in one of the classes, like, why can't we just divide by 2 to begin with? You have 0 divided by 2. Does that give you 0? You can, I guess you can do that. I would prefer that you move the 6 over. Okay? You can get it to this format. All right. We did that in here. We should have ended up with t plus, what do we got, 4? And that means you're going to have to add 16 and add 16. So that equals 19. Good? And so you get plus minus. So t is equal to plus minus, negative 4 plus minus root 19. All right. How many agree? Good. Okay. Now I'll hang up the more detailed answer key here in a while if you'd like to look at it. Okay. So if I'm looking at this guy right here, first step, distribute. So 6x squared plus 30x equals negative 24. I can factor out or divide out a 4 there from both sides. So if I divide the whole thing by 6, okay, I get x squared equals 5x minus equals negative 4. X squared plus 5x equals negative 4. Okay, and then when you're looking at this one, guys, you're going to have the choices whether or not you want to use difference of 2 perfect square trinomials or completing the square, factoring, quadratic formula, or graphing. On the quiz, I think there will be a couple that I ask you to do using completing the square. But I may even change my mind and let you kind of make your own choice on it. If I was to solve this problem, I probably wouldn't use completing the square, just because cutting b in half here and creating my perfect square isn't always fun to deal with, right? Because now I have 5 halves. And then I'd have to square that, which means I get 25/4 that I'm adding to both sides. And probably not an appealing number, right? Okay, so you get kind of this messy looking fraction. In fact, I'll put up my work here because I don't want to try to squeeze everything in there. That is the work that I have for that problem. Okay, so when you go through and check it out, you're like, all right, well, if I do all that stuff, I add my 25/4 to both sides, I do the subtraction, I end up with this nice -1 and -4. Well, if you would have looked at this one right here, if we kind of take a look at that part, so x squared plus 5x, and let's bring the 4 back over here. That is an easy problem to solve just by factoring. That's x plus 4, x plus 1. You're done. You don't have to do any of this mess under it then. So there are more efficient ways to solve, and you get to the same place. I mean, this is x equals -4 and x equals -1. Same answer, but without all the fraction practice. Okay, so you're going to have the option on which one you do most of the time. Okay? Yeah?
On the very first step, why did you divide 30x by 6?
I divided everything by 6.
Oh.
Yeah, I divided each part. Just get rid of the 6 there. Okay? And then number 12, I'm going to just put up the answer there. So start out by dividing, combining like terms. So move the 3x over, move the x over, and set it equal to 0. And x squared minus 6x, we have plus 28. So if I subtract the 28 over and make a perfect square trinomial here, I get x minus 3 quantity squared equals negative 19. Take the root and then add 3. Okay, so I get my I in there. Okay, so 3 plus minus I root 19. Okay, how many got that one? Okay, how many of you figured out where you made your mistake? Okay, so now if you're sitting there and go, I didn't do it, that's the first step to failing this next test. Okay, you got to practice the stuff, okay? So hopefully you at least went through it. If you need help on it, you're going to have time to talk to me today in class. All right? So my question to you then, really quick before we move on to the last piece we're doing, if you turn the page of your student journal and look at 14 through 17. My question to you, what method would you use for each of these? Would you use graphing, factoring, completing the square? Which of the 3 methods, factoring, square roots, I guess, completing the square, I put graphing in there as well. Okay, so I guess we have 4 methods if we can include square roots. Okay, which method would you use for each of those? Talk about it with your groupies, come up with method and why. Okay, hey, let's go ahead and talk about them. Number 14. What do you guys think? Oh, okay, let's just vote. How many say graphing? Factoring. Completing square. Square roots. Okay. Here's how I'd do it, just really quick. I'd factor. Done. Okay. It's a quick and easy way. Factoring was the fastest, I think, personally. Okay. Take out the greatest common factor. Don't forget about the greatest common factor. It's great. Okay. That's why they call it the greatest. Okay. Number 15. How many say factor? Square root. Completing square. Graphing. Square root. Yeah, we can take square root right away, right? It's already a perfect square, so x minus 1 equals root 35. Positive, negative, so you get x is equal to 1 plus minus root 35. Square roots. We wouldn't use completing the square because the square has already been completed. Dude, it'd be like building onto a square. Don't want to build anymore. Okay. Number 16, factoring. Completing square. Square roots. Graphing. All right, yes, square roots. Add 225 to both sides, so x is equal to, x squared is equal to 225. X is equal to plus minus root 225, which is 15. Now, some of you may have said factoring because you recognize that's the difference of 2 perfect squares, so x plus 15 and x minus 15, which will give you plus minus 15 as well. Okay, last one. I'm going to say factoring. Square roots. Completing square. Graphing. Some of you didn't do it. How many didn't get to it? Factoring. Okay, factoring. What can we take out first? 4. If I divide it by 4, I get x squared plus 2x equal, or plus 6 equals 0. Oh, plus 3. Thank you. Plus 3 equals 0. All right. Now, that gives me x plus 3 and x minus 1. Huh. Factoring work?
You took out the 4. You can't take out the 4 completely from the equation. You still have to put the standard form in parentheses and put the 4 in parentheses.
Oh, it still have to have the 4 out here. Okay. Good job. Is that good now? No. So does factoring work well here? No. I mean, kind of looks like it might, but then we get into it, it doesn't work out. Okay, so we took the 4. Okay. All right. Scribble it out. Hopefully you erase. What should we do then?
Subtract the 12 on both sides, and then you can divide everything by 4.
Okay, so maybe completing the square. Okay, so subtract 12, divide by 4, we get x squared plus 2x is equal to -3. Complete the square. So that gives me x plus 1 squared. Okay, which means on both sides we're adding how much? We're adding 1. Okay, so all that equals -2. Okay. And so now we have x plus 1 is equal to plus minus I root 2. And we get x is equal to -1 plus minus I root 2. All right. So sometimes it looks like we can do one way. We get into it and we're like, oh man, that didn't work. Okay. So we have to switch. Very good. Any questions there? Okay, I'm going to hand out your assignment. While I'm doing that, I need you to challenge yourself to put that in vertex form. Okay? Go from standard to vertex there. For those of you struggling, remember vertex form. Hopefully you're able to find that in your notes somewhere if you couldn't remember. How many finished? Can you tell me their strategies, what they're doing? Yeah? Okay, so you said opposite of B over 2A. So you got 6 for H, and then you plugged that back in. You said, well, if y equals x squared minus 12x plus 18, and I want to find k, I could just put in the 6. That's 6 squared minus 12 times 6 plus 18, or 36 minus 72 plus 18, which is -18. So that ends up giving you y equals a stays the same, so it's 1, x minus 6, quantity squared, plus, minus 18. I should really be using my pencil there. Okay? How many got it? Okay? Anyone use a different method? Let me show you another method real quick. And it should be quick, otherwise it's not worth showing. I'm going to use completing the square. I'm going to move that 18 over. I have y minus 18 is equal to x squared minus 12x. And if I want to complete the square, it'd be plus what? 36. And if I add 36 here, I have to add 36 here, right? Okay. So now that gives me y minus 8, plus 18 is equal to x minus 6, quantity squared. Subtract the 18 over. Done, man. Isn't that pretty sweet there? That's swick. That's sweet and sick at the same time. It's merging the generations right there. All right, vertex is what? Good. All right. Very good. Hey, your assignment is the puzzle time.